So we welcome into the studio Senator Scott Martin, and our conversation brought to you by Marcus and Mack, a law firm representing injured people. Senator Martin announcing his candidacy for governor of Pennsylvania. First thing that has to be cleared up is you have to pronounce for me properly the name of the county from which you come.
I come from Lancaster County.
See, he got it. Of course you're going to get it right, but people around here just can't get that part right. From Lancaster County, Senator Scott Martin. You announced for governor how long ago?
Well, I had an exploratory committee since June traveling around, and I made my official announcement this past Saturday.
Mm-hmm. And you've been in the state Senate for a
5
number of
years.
5 years.
5 years.
County commissioner before then?
Yep, I was county commissioner for 8 years before that.
That is a typical path to the legislature for a lot of people, isn't it?
Yeah, it definitely tends to be. But, I've always been drawn more to the executive side of things with my background, our family business, and, of course, being a commissioner, that's most of what you do is on the executive side. So it's one of the things I've noticed was glaringly missing and really holding Pennsylvania back was good executive leadership in Pennsylvania.
And from that county perspective, that experience, number one, but the inside knowledge that you get as to what counties require in order to operate the way that the county should, you're able to then take that into Harrisburg. I would assume that that's been a real benefit for you.
Absolutely, because you're on the ground. You're hearing from your folks. You're seeing whether the economic development's working, is your healthcare system's working. You're seeing impacts on people. And when you're seeing what's not working, Harrisburg is usually the place that has to change things in order for you to be able to do certain things. It can be very frustrating at times, but it's definitely been a great experience for what I'm looking to do.
It's interesting as we get set for a gubernatorial campaign next year. The Republican primary field is going to be a tough navigation, isn't it? There's a lot of people that want that
15,
job.
I think, now.
Is it 15 now?
Yep.
You have to distinguish yourself there. That's one of the things that people say quite often. The primary season is much tougher than the general. Yeah. Because there are real differences when you get to the general between those two candidates, but the differences may be more subtle in a primary season.
No, you're absolutely correct. So a lot of it's getting out and meeting the people, letting them see your passion, letting them hear about your record, which usually you hear what the distinguishing differences between candidates and what they are. And do you have a candidate that can work hard? You're definitely auditioning to be the Republican nominee to take on for the differences in November. And so that's what we spent our time doing the last 6 months is traveling around the state, trying to create contrast with the other candidates, really talking about our record and our principles. And we got great feedback. And that's why by doing that and really seeing Pennsylvania being at such a crossroads right now. You probably know this as well. 10 straight censuses, we have lost a congressional seat. Our population's lagging. Our young people are going out of state to go find jobs. We have one of the worst business job creator tax and regulatory environments in the entire country. And when you think about these things and add on things with education, the highest cost of higher education in the entire country, right here in Pennsylvania, highest student debt. There's so many folks who are being left behind because of policy decisions being made in Harrisburg. And I have a real passion and a history of working with children and caring about opportunities for them and for families. It's a critical point right now that we're at, and we need someone who's going to bring that passion and energy and the reforms necessary. And that's what we have a history of doing with my record in the Senate and as a commissioner to really turn the state around.
I want to ask you about workforce in a second because that's a whole part of this equation. But Harrisburg is such a rough and tumble place, and the politics can really get pretty scary. And in the governor's mansion right now is a gentleman who has been there for 2 terms now, and the Reggie debate, of course, has gone on. Senate, House, both passing resolutions disapproving of the Reggie regulations, not veto-proof regulations or votes, though, in these last couple of weeks. That's a really, really tough thing that is going on. I remember your former colleague, Senator Don White, who would refer to Tom Wolf as this guy, this guy. It can be really, really difficult for people from our end of the state especially to understand what is the end goal of a policy such as Reggie for Pennsylvania to have this imposed upon it. What is the benefit that is perceived from one side when we're looking at things from a whole different perspective.
Yeah, and this is part about the folks who are being left behind, and really by an attempt to appease a lot of folks on the radical left who despise fossil fuels and anything that has to do with it. And whether that means loss of thousands of family-sustaining jobs or people moving to West Virginia and Ohio to other energy-producing facilities, they don't understand that the things that you're talking about doing have a real impact on real people. And you're correct. It'll have a huge impact on the jobs here in your region. It's going to have a huge impact when you talk about an average 18% increase in energy costs for residential or for businesses. And it's all being done for a 0.03% reduction in carbon. We're battling hard in that. You have an amazing champion out here with Senator Joe Pittman. Him and I have worked really hard together, him, myself, Senator Gene Yaw from Lycoming, and really pushing back on this. But I know this. He's doing this on his own as an executive, which is unlike most states or any interstate compact we get into. And I will say, if that's the way he's going to do it, my first thing as an executive would be to take Pennsylvania out, because we cannot afford, especially after I talked about the growth, or how we're lagging in growth and population to begin with, to add in policies like this is accelerating that same path. And we have to stop that kind of madness. So Reggie needs to end. We need to get out of it. If he's going to try to finalize it, we're going to fight this tooth and nail to the very end. And the people of this area and across the state deserve us to fight for them.
Senator Scott Martin with us here this morning. Senator Pittman and I have discussed quite often the idea of an executive, from the executive branch of government, imposing something that would have such long-ranging impacts long after he is gone from the governor's seat, and would really saddle Pennsylvania in a way. The larger discussion, therefore, has to do with balance of power and whether a governor should have that sort of power with the exclusion of the General Assembly from the entire process.
Yeah, we really need to hit the reset button on the balance of powers. The People's House is critically important as well. As we saw through the pandemic, this governor had, again, a go-it-alone approach. He refused to be transparent in sharing data. And what we ended up doing, and if you recall the votes back in May on the constitutional amendments, myself and Senator Kim Ward were the authors of that bill that people voted on. If you want to have an effective response to anything, or you want to get a great end result, and this comes from my old athletic days, working as a team will get you much better product at the end and what you're trying to accomplish. He has not chosen to do that, whether it's with Reggie, whether it's with his emergency response and handling this pandemic, and quite frankly, what a lot of folks know is with supplemental spending. It's a term not a lot of people have heard of, but he overspends his budget by $500 million to $1 billion a year. This go-it-alone approach does not get results. It alienates people on both sides of the aisle. And we need a governor that's going to actually sit down with the General Assembly, lay out an agenda for whatever the topic may be, and then implement it together. That's what the people of Pennsylvania want to see, and they deserve those kind of results. And we've had 8 years of having the exact opposite.
As you define your candidacy and others do theirs, and we talk about distinctions and whether they're subtle or whether they're pretty grand, what are the platforms that you think are most important to you? What are those things that you say, these are what are going to really help Pennsylvania, and this is what I want to do?
Well, we've hit on a couple of them, but I'll tell you right now, first and foremost, we have to change the job creators' business and regulatory climate in Pennsylvania if we're going to keep drawing and growing family-sustaining jobs in PA. And then that spurs a lot of ripple effect with small businesses around the area to help support that community. We also have to make sure that our kids are all receiving an education that is world-class and best fits their individual needs. We need to rein in the cost of higher education, specifically with our state system of higher education right now, which is supposed to be the affordable option. We have to rebalance the power of the executive branch with the legislative branch, as we are hit on. But I also want to say this. We've been blessed in Pennsylvania. You want to see the states where people are fleeing to, the Floridas, the Arizonas, the Texases. They embrace the natural resources they've been given to grow it to the benefit of their communities and their citizens. Here in Pennsylvania, it's okay to say we can be one of the premier power producers in the entire world but we have yet to really let it fulfill its potential. While billions of dollars of investment go to West Virginia, Ohio, the Gulf Coast, if we would treat it like that and allow manufacturers who are very reliant on energy and affordable, reliable energy, until we embrace that, we're never going to truly have our full potential here in Pennsylvania. So I'm passionate about all those issues. And if we can hit those 4 key areas and that 5th, embracing energy and doing it right, no one's saying doing it dirty, but doing it right, we will change the dynamics of the state and really restore it back to its historic position in this country. We help build America, and we help build the world. And what we have folks doing is implementing policies that are saying people and businesses don't want to come here anymore. And we can't have that.
For years and years, every campaign season has been, I'm going to bring jobs. There aren't enough jobs. There can be tons of jobs. You got to have the people to work them. Is our workforce adequate? Is it trained? Is it ready to go?
No, well, it's a great question, because one, when you talk about affordability, and the other thing that we're continually trying to stress and push towards is what opportunities in education for folks to walk out of it into a family-sustaining job are we talking about? We need to be better stewards of tax dollars in terms of how we invest that. You can graduate kids in a certain subject all you want, but if there's no jobs for it, what was the point? They're carrying this debt, or they're going to go to another state to find those jobs. So whether it's the trades, which we've seen a tremendous folks, welders and construction folks, whatever, whether it's a nursing shortage, whether it's a teacher shortage, are we better incentivizing students to get into fields that they're going to immediately walk out into a family-sustaining job and hopefully have limited debt? Because when you have tremendous debt and you can't get a job, you're less likely to buy a house, buy a car, plant your roots here. So making sure the workforce is prepared in what the projections of what the economy is going to need is critically important and should be an ongoing thing we're always reevaluating, and not just handing money over to bricks and mortars and saying, well, kids, you can get your degree in XYZ, even though there's really no jobs in that area.
Senator Scott Martin is running for governor next year. You were telling me, safe to say something, that's your baby, huh?
Yeah, not too long after the Parkland shooting, myself, Senator Pat Brown, we introduced Safe to Say and got it through, and we're really proud of it. And it's really been an eye-opener with a lot of the statistics coming out of it, particularly around young people reaching out for help. Yes, it's for physical threats to schools, but the mental health aspect of it, the data, and now we just got to put that data into action in terms of what we're going to do with it.
Yeah, it amazed me how quickly that was embraced by school administrators. It was like they said, this is something that we've been looking for, and now it's finally here. What's your schedule rest of the day?
Well, we're going to be going to the Teddy Bear fundraiser today. We're going to be meeting with officials. I'm fortunate, my good friend, Senator Joe Pittman, and maybe former Senator Don White, my old friend, was with him for a couple of years before he retired. We're going to be stopping in and visiting people here in Indiana County. We spent the day yesterday down in Cambria County, talking a lot about a lot of same issues that you brought up today. So I'm excited to be here. This is just an amazing part of Pennsylvania. But we got to make sure, and I'm glad I'm here, because we got to make sure the policies in Harrisburg are not holding back places like Indiana County and the workforce here.
Senator Scott Martin, best of luck to you.
Thank you, sir.
It is the voice of Indiana County, WCCS 101.1 FM and AM 1160 and AM 1160 and